Okay. My name is Brad, and I've been diagnosed since '83. I was sick in '83, and I've had a couple illnesses after. So I guess I've been diagnosed with AIDS it's been 9 years. Probably I've been infected for years. I mean, at least probably 11. I don't know, it goes back quite a ways. I mean, because a person don't get infected and then get sick 6 months later. You know, it takes time to incubate. So you figure if I was sick, then I was exposed very early on in my teen years. Late teens, early 20s.
So you want to just keep it at me, that way the eyes don't keep it.
Oh, okay.
That's fine. You say you were probably one of the first people that were infected.
Probably.
And back then they probably didn't know anything about what the virus was.
No, they just told me I had AIDS, and actually at the time there was really no therapy for it.
So you started taking AZT, at what point was that?
That was actually when it was first available, I was taking the AZT, which was probably 84 maybe. It was just a year and a half after I was sick that I was able to get AZT.
Who told you that you should take it?
Well, the physician, whatever the media or whatever, the physicians, do this, take this, it seems to help.
And now, what was the results from?
Well, for me taking AZT, I was taking 5 tablets, 100 milligrams a day. So it was 500 milligrams in the beginning, 600 milligrams of AZT a day for over 2.5 years. I had the pentamidine. I inhaled once a month for years. Same amount just as much. Well, pentamidine came after, I guess. So it was just shortly after, a year of the AZT, here comes the pentamidine to protect from the pneumonia. So, of the result of all of these medications and the sulfurs, the antibiotics, all of these drugs that have been bombarded, I'm lucky if I have any bone marrow left. What these drugs have done to me has basically, I don't think it's really the virus that it had got my bone marrow to the point, and my blood almost anemic blood transfusion stages, if it wasn't for the toxic drugs that literally kills every cell it comes in contact with. It actually deadens everything it comes in contact with. So, and actually, after reading it, I got a physician's desk reference, and I had looked under AZT, and the physician's desk reference is basically a doctor's Bible. And if a doctor doesn't have his physician's desk reference, well, then he's basically lost. So I wanted to find out for myself what exactly AZT and all these drugs were. So I bought a physician's desk reference, and within the doctor's Bible, it says causes severe anemia and resulting in blood transfusions, which that's where they told me I was at a year and a half ago. They told me I needed blood transfusions, and there was nothing else I could do. There's nothing else they could do.
So when you stopped taking AZT?
So I discontinued AZT when the doctor literally says, just go home and continue therapy. And when he had told me this, and not even prescribing a vitamin, I kind of prescribe something, just don't tell me I need a blood transfusion and to go home and continue therapy. I lost my temper. I'm actually begging him. Or no, there was anger there, and I said, give me something. Give me a steroid. Give me something to hype my body. Something, a vitamin C, a mineral, something. And he goes, well, there's just nothing I can do. So at that point, a person has to go within himself and search for something that will inhibit the virus on a natural measure, on a holistic, a natural path type thing.
And so, what was the next step? Did you look in the health magazines?
Well, I took spirulina for years. I swear spirulina got me through some pretty...
What is that?
Spirulina is an algae, and it's high in protein, low in fat, and the whole vitamin thing, I guess, is eventually what it's come to, and that they're vitamin and oxygen, basically. But after I had, I'm like in the man's face, and I've had friends who have died, and I didn't want to hear the same thing. I just locked onto him, and I says, you must give me something else. You must give me an alternative, something to look forward to. Then what you have done is you've destroyed my bone marrow. You've literally destroyed the components within my blood, and you're telling me to continue therapy. I kind of got off there, but so anyway, I just left, and I've just been going back for blood tests and results since. And in the last year and a half, as far as the nutrition, the combination of herbs, vitamins, minerals, and I believe oxygen and a clean colon. I know that's kind of funny, but to stress a clean colon in someone who is not ill it's like you must have a clean colon if you don't help your body eliminate waste and all the toxicity that you are taking in, you will die.
Right. Yeah.
Because usually what stems the body is within the colon. From dirty colons, from compacted colons, if you will. And all of us, the subject people just kind of, when you talk about the colon, it's like, shh.
Right.
But I'm telling you that with oxygen and flushing the colon on 2 or 3 times a week, maybe on certain times of therapy every day, flushing it with oxygen.
Okay.
Or ozone, if you will.
Mm-hmm. So, that's what I was going to get into now. So, what kind of therapies, like ozone and stuff like that, what are you taking now?
What I'm doing now, and I have been doing for a year, is basically a combination of the minerals, the herbs, the raw food enzymes, the antioxidants, and oxygen, basically.
Okay, and specifically, we're talking about oxygen.
Oxygen that goes through a transformer that becomes ozone, which ozone is just a more efficient oxygen. That's all it is. Is basically it's a higher it's a more efficient oxygen. Without ozone, plants we wouldn't be here today.
Some people think that ozone is just like something in the atmosphere.
Well, I
hear from it or something.
I hear that on the news all the time, ozone is bad, but that violet thin strip of ozone that surrounds our planet, without it we die. The body produces ozone, the immune system produces an ozone. There's hydrogen peroxide within our fruits and vegetables, which is depleted because of the canned and everything. But the immune system actually creates hydrogen peroxide to fight infection.
Okay, so do you have your own machine? Do you do your own therapy? Or what led you into ozone? What was the instigator of that?
Well, basically, I was at a party in Palm Springs, and it was all these HIV people, which had been the first party that I'd been to like that. And there was this one guy boasting about how he had done oxygen therapy or ozone, and immediately my head turned, and I wanted to hear more about it. So I went to him and I asked him. I go, what exactly is ozone? He goes, it's an oxygen, and something about how the virus is anaerobic and how oxygen inhibits virus, bacteria, and fungus. And I just immediately I needed to know more, because this was like a venture that I knew I was going to be taking, because there was nothing else. This was at the time when pick or choose. You can continue the therapy or nothing at all. So when I heard this, it just made such simple sense to me.
It's like, try it anyway, I mean.
Yeah, exactly. So I had a little bit of money put away, and thank God for that, because I don't think I'd be sitting here with the energy that I have. But what was the question?
How did you get in? How did you get into ozone? I mean, did you read? Like I said.
Oh yeah, okay. Like I said, I was at this party, and this person had mentioned and how this guy had these swollen lymph nodes that lived in Reno, and he'd heard about this doctor who does ozone drip in Laguna, and he was telling me a story that this guy was like really sick and his glands were like out to here, which I might add, mine used to be very swollen, and are not now. But this guy had heard about this doctor in Laguna, and he had gone down to Laguna for the treatment, and the treatment was like $3,000, which I believe is criminal. But it was a 12-day like intravenous drip and oral oxygen and oxygen saturation, ozone, basically. And for 12 days it was $3,000. And supposedly after the treatment, after the 12 days, the guy left with more energy, and the swollenness of his lymph glands had shrunk. I mean, like, considerably. So, basically that's how I heard of ozone. That was like within the first...
What did you do from there? Did you get your own machine, or...?
Well, what I did was, I guess the best thing that I need to do is like go to like a cancer convention or an expo. And that's what I did, is I went to one, and everything seemed to be oxygen enhanced, oxygen herbs, oxygen, it's like this thing that's coming around about oxygen and how we're all lacking it, and how we need to ingest it just to keep our bodies clean. So there I had met, a lot of people that had their own vitamins and all that stuff, and the air ozonators, which I want to possess one of those. I think there is validity to those air purifiers, and as far as like respiratory infections that HIV people get, which I have had no kind of infection for months. No thrush. Since I've been using basically the nutrition end and oxygen. But before the nutritional end, no, I've been doing nutrition for some time, but the extent of the nutrition is a lot more educated and combined. With the oxygen, I think it will prolong anyone's life who is not well.
Mm-hmm. So, so do you own your own machine, or where do you go?
I own my own machine, and I treat myself. Well, you kind of, with the machine, you kind of get creative. You just start with the air, the ozonated air, and which ozone has a lifespan of only 22 minutes. So it's only 22 minutes. So basically, it's only like hyperactive for that long. But for over a year now, I've been, like I said, I started out with just the gas, and then ozone is 10 times as stable in water, so I added the bubble stone to ozonate the water. Oh God, this is really, there's more to this than...
Then you drank it or something?
Well, you can drink it. You do colon cleanses with it. You, if I could show you the machine, it would probably be a long...
Well, not now. After this,
Okay.
I'll be shooting.
Okay.
What I was going to ask you was, I mean, how expensive was it? I mean, was it...
Well, the machine, you know, it's a bit much, but you see, you have to understand that, I mean, I was fatigued. I was down to 150 pounds. I had no color. I was gaunt. Ash, if you will. I had severe bone pain, cardiomyopathy in my left hand, my toes, thrush. I had breakouts of like canker sores, and all of these things were surrounding me, you know, my aura that was starting to invade my persona. And those things are gone. I'm not fatigued. I have more energy, the bone pain. I've been able to, like, in the year, maintain my blood plus or minus 30%. So it's like I've been able to maintain what the toxic drugs had took me down to.
And that's the T cell?
T cell.
Staying pretty much the same?
Basically, I mean, because you can't be concerned about 10 or 20 T cell, and it's been basically pretty steady for the last 8 months.
What was it like before you started doing this? I mean, like...
Well, beforehand, they told me I needed blood transfusions, that I should continue the drugs and the pentamidine and all this stuff. So, what do you do?
Yeah, exactly. Okay. How about, obviously, it's not FDA approved, and, you know, what's the problem with that? I mean, you have to pay your own machine, you don't have medical insurance.
I mean, it's funny. Wait, what was the question?
It's not FDA approved.
Okay, that is funny because, I mean, they tell me there's nothing else I can do. I can really give a shit if it's FDA approved or not. It's just oxygen, for Christ's sakes. I mean, anyone will benefit, sick or otherwise.
Well, they say that there have been some people who've gotten toxic results. That might also be because they took too much of it or something. I don't know.
Well, I don't know how... I mean, it would have to take a lot of oxygen to become toxic.
Well, ozone, I mean.
Or ozone. It's the same thing, basically. I mean, you just got an extra atom that eventually turns into water and oxygen.
Okay, so
ozone.
The only other thing I can think is maybe because it's not patentable. I mean, you can just buy a machine. That's why.
Well, see, what somebody does with a water purifier in the privacy of their own home is their own business. I mean, I have a choice, and the 9th Amendment gives me that choice of physician and treatment. So if they can't give me a treatment that is beneficial, that's not going to kill me, then I don't care what the FDA has to say. This is my life now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
I'm sick of, you know, the FDA, this, that, the other thing. They're giving us nothing.
Yeah.
No alternatives.
Yeah, basically just sticking to the AZT with milk, AZT with chocolate syrup, AZT with banana, whatever.
Yeah. I'm really sick of it. I'm my own physician. I make my own decisions now because I really feel that HIV people are becoming more educated than their doctors. And where do you turn? I mean, you have to find it within.
Well, are there, you know, more people like you around the United States where people who have HIV and are very, you know, naive because they only have the virus now and they're going to go to their physician? Are there places they can go to find out more about such alternative therapies?
No. I mean, you can go to like a natural path and all this stuff and the nutritional end of it. But as far as oxygen, as far as, well, I guess you can buy Don's Bach in the store, which is food grade hydrogen peroxide.
It's basically, no one really knows it's out there. And
Basically
if you do know
not.
about it, they're going to charge you a whole
Well,
lot
when you
more.
think of hydrogen peroxide, basically, because if you're going to talk about oxygen therapy, you're going to be talking about ozone, hydrogen peroxide, food grade, which is the only hydrogen peroxide that you are able to ingest. Yeah, it's there, but people think of hydrogen peroxide as a deadly hair dye, wound topical type thing. And I've even looked in the journal, the medical journal, about hydrogen peroxide, and it's just, there's nothing about food grade hydrogen peroxide, there's nothing about being able to ingest any kind of hydrogen peroxide.
You wanted to
Yeah.
introduce yourself and then say, you're R positive and what you're taking, and so.
Okay. My name is Brad, and I've been diagnosed since '83. I was sick in '83, and I've had a couple illnesses after. So 100 milligrams a day, so it was 500 milligrams, in the beginning 600 milligrams of AZT a day for over 2.5 years. I had the pentamidine. I inhaled once a month for years, same amount, just as much. Well, pentamidine came after, I guess. So it was like just shortly after. I guess I've been diagnosed with AIDS it's been 9 years. Probably I've been infected for years. I mean, at least probably 11. I don't know, it goes back quite a ways. I mean, because a person don't get infected and then get sick 6 months later. It takes time to incubate. So you figure if I was sick, then I was exposed very early on in my teen years. Late teens, early 20s.
So you want to just keep it at me, that way the eyes don't keep it.
Oh, okay.
That's fine. You'd say you were probably one of the first people that were infected.
Probably.
And back then they probably didn't know anything about what the virus was.
No, they just told me I had AIDS, and actually at the time there was really no therapy for it.
So you started taking AZT, what point was that?
That was actually when it was first available, I was taking the AZT, which was probably 84 maybe. It was just like a year and a half after I was sick that I was able to get AZT.
Who told you that you should take it?
Well, the physician, whatever the media or whatever, the physicians, do this, take this, it seems to help.
And now, what was the results from?
Well, for me taking AZT, I was taking 5 tablets